to the code. Okay, so Monkey, your grandpa. Now I have a
You know
whole
how
long,
much I used to get for a weekly allowance?
do you know how much Peter gets for a weekly allowance?
$5.
Yeah. What do you think Grandpa Dale used to get? What do you think?
See that number?
No, no way. You didn't get anything?
Nope.
But how did you buy all your toys?
Well, I didn't buy any toys. Fortunately, if it's a critical item like a bicycle or something like that, Auntie Mabel bought it for me.
Auntie Mabel was Grandma's sister.
No, Dad's sister.
Really?
Yep, she was a Stevens.
Oh, I don't think I ever met that Auntie Mabel.
No, you didn't because she passed away while I was in college.
Oh,
But see, they lived upstairs and my bedroom was upstairs. So every night we'd have coffee and peanut butter cookies at 10 o'clock and listen to the news.
in their bedroom, or like how? What was your house?
It was like, I don't know, I hate to use the word apartment, but they owned the house. And Mom and Dad rented the downstairs,
Okay.
but there was only one bedroom on the downstairs.
Uh-huh.
So when Roger was home, had a little 8x10 room upstairs with them.
Uh-huh.
And
And
that
the
was all fine and, huh?
kitchen was in the upstairs or the downstairs? The kitchen of the house.
Well, there was one in each place.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And in the summertime, you had the window open and you laid on your sheets and
Because it's super humid in the summertime in Minnesota,
yes.
although
Hoping you
not
didn't-
so hot like it is here
hoping you
right
didn't get a stray mosquito.
now. Didn't you have netting on your windows? Screen?
Well, we had screens,
Oh,
but that's only so adequate. And then
Yeah.
in the wintertime, you know what we used to do, Peter? I used to go and see my breath in my bedroom.
oh my gosh. Well, you had you wood burning stove or something, right?
Well, you came from downstairs, upstairs, and you came into a small little central core area, and they had an oil stove, and that was the only heat in upstairs. And downstairs, Mom and Dad had a wood burning stove in the kitchen,
Uh-huh.
and then in what we would call a dining room, we had a oil burner that heated the downstairs. But again, on the extremities of the rooms, got a little cool.
This was in town in Boyd? 'Cause
Yep.
I thought you guys had a farm at one time too, or no?
We did. We lived on the farm until I was 6 years old.
Mhm.
And there was no heat upstairs. You went upstairs and it was kind of a little entry, well, I'll use the word a foyer, and it opened up into, well, the house is divided because you had knee walls. So it was divided down the middle. On one side was Mom and Dad's bedroom, and on the right-hand side was our bedroom. And the heat upstairs was provided by the chimney, brick chimney that went through the center of the house.
Uh-huh.
And of course, any heat from the downstairs that migrated up.
Yeah.
But it wasn't that big of a space.
Well, and then once the fire went out downstairs, right? Then the whole house would just start cooling down until the morning.
Well, no, the kitchen had a wood burning stove in it, and you'd stoke it up with coal at night. And then there was also a oil burner that was in the living room area that was kind of central right there with the fire, where the chimney was. And of
Okay.
course, that would burn all night long.
Oh,
No
good.
problem.
Okay. So it was cold in the winter and hot in the summer. Did you have ice skates?
Sure. I didn't have any ice skates until I was in town.
Mm.
Um,
Well, you probably didn't have a place to skate till then either, right?
I don't remember, no, there really wasn't any place to skate in when we were on the farm. When we initially moved into town,
Mhm.
Mom and Dad had bought this restaurant,
Oh yeah, I remember hearing about that.
and right behind the restaurant, across the alley, was a piece of property.
Mhm.
And somebody, and oftentimes it was Roger, would go down to the fire station and get the fire hose, and they would flood that square, and you
Mhm.
could skate on that. And so sometime in the 7th or 8th grade, I got ice skates for Christmas, I guess.
Mhm.
The other part is I had roller skates.
Oh, we learned about roller skate wheels recently, that they used to be made of metal.
Yes,
No,
My
that
roller-
was for skateboards.
But that was true of roller skates too.
yeah. My roller skates, I wore the wheels out, Peter. I really wore through the metal in the wheels
They were made of
because
metal.
I skated so much.
Well, we learned too that the trouble with those metal wheels is like if you hit something, they would just lock.
I don't remember having any experience like that.
No, that was with the clay wheels.
No, that was with the metal wheels. With the clay wheels, they would eventually
Yeah.
kind of disintegrate a little bit. Anyway, but yeah, you wouldn't have the same problem. But they said with the metal wheels on the skateboards, it would hit something and then they would lock. And then on the skateboard, of course, you would keep going. On
Yeah.
roller skates, you just fall.
Yeah. Well, we had no idea what a skateboard was.
Yeah.
We had scooters, two-wheel scooters. I didn't
Oh,
have.
yeah? Huh.
I'm trying to remember. I think it was probably 9th or 10th, 10 years old when Auntie Mabel and Eric bought me a bicycle. And so that was an opportunity to break my neck.
Jeez.
I never had any, I don't recall having any major accidents, but we used to ride those bicycles like crazy. And usually we'd go out, well, we'd ride them in the daytime anyway, but at night after dinner, they'd have, I don't know if we played tag or what, but we'd ride through the city like crazy men and trying to catch each other or something or another. Anyway, it gave you a great opportunity to break your neck or run into a car.
But I mean, there weren't as many cars or other people around, right?
No,
Like
there
it was,
wasn't anybody around. That's
Yeah.
why you could get away with that kind of stuff.
right.
We also had something that you don't hear about these days. We had rubber guns. They do have synthetic rubber tubing that they make slingshots out of now. But so you'd cut a shape of a gun out and you'd put a clothespin on it. And and would use, you'd have to get real rubber from an inner tube and you'd tie a knot in the middle so you had a loop. And then the loose ends you'd stick down in the clothespin. And then you go around and you shoot people with a rubber gun. And some of those got to be kind of nasty, but most of them were. You could get some pretty good sized ones. You can imagine if you stretch out a inner tube piece of rubber that much. And that used to be another game that was played once in a while.
So Peter just joined us on the iPad so he could see better and not have to sit on my lap.
Okay.
Yes.
Anyway, so Papa, also, if you go up, like there's choices up at the top, like mine says gallery view right now, and then I can see like all three of you.
Papa's not here.
Also, no, I'm talking to my Papa. You can
Yeah, I got
also change
all
it
three of you up there.
to speaker view or gallery view or, however.
Yeah, I got all three.
Okay, great.
I see the gallery view, but what does that give me that I don't?
Well, you can switch between speaker and gallery view and just see what you like better.
Oh, well, I'll stay with what I have right now.
Yeah. So you lived on a farm, and that was when you lived in the same house as your Aunt Mabel and Eric, her husband?
when we moved to Boyd, moved into town. We lived above
Oh,
the
okay, so on
restaurant.
the farm, you lived by yourselves.
Yes. Yeah. But see, Dad had the first heart attack when they were on the farm.
Oh,
And so they decided he couldn't continue farming. So they thought this restaurant business would work. And he found out that wasn't the panacea either. Uh, And that's when Mabel and Eric came to Boyd. Mabel agreed to be the cook for the restaurant.
make this stop. Sorry, it's just, I don't even know what, it's hard to focus.
And
So
when they
Mabel
came
came
to-
when she was the cook,
Pardon?
and Mabel was the cook?
Yeah, she was a cook. And they bought this house down by the schoolhouse
Mhm.
and lived there until, well, they lived there forever, but, and there was some other family living in the main floor until we sold the restaurant and moved in to that house with them.
Mhm.
And I was about 8th grade at that time.
Okay. So, because your dad died when you were younger than 8th grade, right?
Well, I had just finished, we just been to class to pick up all of our test scores and
Uh-huh.
test papers. And I was at home burning them in the little trash burner stove.
Oh,
And
Is that what everybody did with theirs, or that, like, was that,
that was my ritual.
okay.
When I don't know, I guess somebody came to the door.
Huh.
Mother
Not
was
like the
working at the
police or
grocery
something.
store
Yeah.
at the time. And so I was home alone. Mabel and Eric were upstairs, but I was home alone downstairs
Jeez.
when the news came.
8th grade?
Yeah, the last day of 8th grade.
Uh-huh. And you said your mom was working at the grocery store?
Right. She
So
was,
this is after the restaurant then?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Dad, when they decided the restaurant business wasn't, I mean, it was viable business. They were, my opinion, probably one of the better restaurants in town. They had there was 3 of them, and we were certainly in competition with any of them. But Dad couldn't carry the cases of beverages up and down the steps from the basement.
Yeah.
Just a lot of heavy lifting.
Yeah.
So anyway, he went to work for the local hardware store.
Mhm.
And we had a Gamble's hardware store. And he and one other fellow would do roofing.
Mhm.
And
A lot of work too.
the insulating walls, blow-in insulation was hot at that time.
Mhm.
The older structures were just 2x4 walls with a clapboard on the outside and sheathing on the inside.
Yeah.
So they would take off some of the siding and cut holes, and then they would blow each of the spaces and the 2x full of this insulation. And that was one of the things, but he and this other fellow basically were the handymen for the Gamble's store because they would really take on any job.
Yeah.
But in the summertime, their main operation was shingling barns and houses, mostly barns. But some of those country barns were kind of tall. You could probably remember some of them. And so climbing up 40-foot ladders
Jeez.
and carrying an 80-pound bundle of shingles was
Uh-huh.
not an easy task either. And you
No.
usually wind up having to wear 2 or 3 pairs of coveralls
Mhm.
because otherwise you'd wear the knees out climbing on those shingles with all the stones in them.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I guess when I was 6th grade, Dad had his 2nd heart attack.
Oh, I didn't know he more than one even.
Yeah. And no, I suppose it was about that time. And they decided that this idea of working for the hardware store wasn't a panacea, it wasn't going to work out either. So
Yeah.
you got this job as a sales representative for what was called Northfield Iron Company. And they
Mhm.
made culverts and for road construction. And of course, the interstate construction was a big deal at that time. because Northfield Iron wasn't a big producer and Dad was new in the business, he really couldn't be competitive with the longtime sales guys who had built up a reputation with the big construction companies. So what he would do is go around to the, and you might remember the structural organization, but you'd have cities, you'd have townships, and you'd have counties. Well, they all bought materials, but it was all in small quantities. But he would go around to these smaller communities, smaller government agencies, and hopefully make some contact. And because he'd been a farmer, he could sit down and talk to them about what was going on in the field. And he'd usually bring some beverages along so they could have a Coke or a bottle of water or something rather than just wasting their time. But he had one small company, one small construction company that did a lot of county work, and they were south of town about 15 miles, and they took a liking to Dad. So oftentimes, if they won a job, Dad got that, that sale for the culverts. And it took him about 1.5 years before he finally got to the point where he's breaking even. So it was kind of a tight time in the house.
Because was it like a commission thing, or you had to buy the culvert or something? Oh, geez.
No, you got a commission on the sale. And see, that's what he was doing. They would make the culverts in Northfield, Minnesota, and they would ship them out to the job site. And then someone had to unload them.
Yeah.
And a fellow in town had a little dump truck and a front motor. Anyway, they were out offloading these corrugated pipes. And that's when Dad had his last heart attack. He was in the truck, driving the truck that had the culverts on it.
Oh,
and the other fellow, who was a long distance relative, said that anyway, he had taken the truck out of gear.
Yeah.
And when they checked on him, he was dead.
Oh.
But he had an aneurysm, so it was just like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was in 54.
54.
Roger had been on active duty in the National Guard, which deployed to Fort Rucker, Alabama. And they had returned home, and he was going to go off to St. Olaf using the GI Bill.
Yeah.
Well, when Dad passed, he decided he'd come home and run the business. And I don't know, that really wasn't his forte anyway.
Yeah.
But after about 2 years, he decided that he would go into the Air Force and go to navigator school, get a commission. It was like officer candidate school at San Antonio, Texas. And mother's sister, Mabel.
Right. That's what was confusing to me. So there's a Mabel and a Maybelle, or both?
Maybelle, I should say. Maybelle.
Yeah.
And Alan and myself drove down to San Antonio. I guess we must have been 16, 17. Anyway, we drove, let the ladies in the back seat. And then we actually went into Mexico there were some people down there that befriended us. And they took us into Mexico for, an afternoon. So it was a good time. And then, I don't know, high school was kind of there.
So, you guys drove there because Roger was going to,
Graduate from Air Force
okay,
Officer Candidate School as a second lieutenant.
yeah. So he didn't get to go to college at this point.
No, he dropped out of college.
Yeah, he was going to go to St. Olaf, but then he couldn't. He decided to take over the business instead.
Yeah, he probably didn't really have a choice.
Yeah.
His academic standards. He had played football in the fall, and he was going to be invited to join the varsity team his sophomore year,
Yeah.
but he didn't have the grades to stay in school.
Oh,
He was having more fun doing other things.
yeah.
So anyway,
So we still have some, like, did you have a favorite food that you remember when you were little? I mean, I just remember grandma's, the canning, the cellar in the basement, there's full of all the things that she had canned. She must have done that when you guys were little too, right?
oh yeah, we did it on the farm and we did it in town.
Yeah.
One of my favorite, she would can cherries, and I enjoyed cherries. Well, when we were on the farm, we would actually harvest the meat from the animals on the farm,
Yeah.
and you'd can that so you could keep it during the wintertime. One of the things I always remember is when we were in high school, they had government commodities. So the schools would have cheese, and they'd have these cherries.
Mhm.
It wasn't like the Washington cherries that you'd buy in the store. It was a cherry sauce kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
Well, a lot of kids were fussy. And one day I had 13 bowls of cherries that I collected. They were all good. But we played all the sports in high school because we had to in order to have a team.
Oh, you mean like everybody played all the sports?
Yeah,
Nobody could sit out or you wouldn't have enough people.
football, basketball,
Uh-huh.
baseball. And we had a different coach every year because small school, if the coach showed any sign of talent, he was hired off to some other
Oh, geez.
school.
Uh-huh. This is in
and-
Boyd, right?
Pardon?
This is all in Boyd.
Yeah. And as sophomores, we were playing six-man football, and 5 of us were sophomore starters. And we started 3 years in a row. But it didn't make any difference. Matter of fact, our senior year, the junior year coach went to our main competition. And the competition had 3 guys that were in the 250-pound range and standing 6'4" and 6'6".
Jeez.
Well, they won the conference.
Uh-huh.
So we never accomplished any great achievements in athletics, but at least we played, we participated.
Right.
Yeah, the senior year, we really didn't have a coach. So a couple of guys from the community decided that they would come up and help out a little bit.
Uh-huh.
And that was the extent of it.
Jeez. I mean, was that kind of typical of small towns in Minnesota, or were you guys just really small, like really not affluent town, and you were competing against other towns that had coaches and teams?
No, I don't know of any other school that had the same problem with retaining coaches like we did. But no, we were about the same size as the school we were playing against.
Yeah.
It's just a school called Milan, Minnesota, which is northwest of Montevideo.
Mhm.
They had these 3 big monsters. Matter of fact, one of those guys went to South Dakota State and played professional
Huh.
football. And that's who we were playing.
Unfair, really, yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah. Well, in all that time, well, so because Roger was gone. I mean, because he's 8 years older than you.
yep,
Okay.
yes,
So I mean, when you were growing up, he was just a lot older,
yeah, sure.
and then he was gone when you got to be like. By the time you were a teenager, he was gone.
Yeah, he was, well,
But then I
He
guess
was
he came back though.
he was gone, I guess, my sophomore year, I think it was. He was gone.
Okay.
One of the thrills was that he came home at Christmas time. And I guess this was during his OCS training, maybe the junior year, my junior year. But he asked if I'd polish his shoes. Well, when you're an OCS, you do it a little differently. I said, sure, I'll do it. Well, I was about halfway done. He came in and ripped him away. Well, that's not what's going to be good enough. You know, yeah,
Jeez.
that was not uncommon reaction from him.
Yikes. Well,
and-
I mean, was that like the way that your dad was to him, or like where did he get
No,
that
not
from?
that I know of. I don't know that I ever saw
Okay.
Dad discipline either one of us.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know where all that
Yeah.
animosity and tension came from.
Yeah. Did you used to get disciplined by Grandma Hazel?
No,
Get spanked or anything?
no.
Did
I
you
was
like get your dinner taken? Did you have to go to bed without eating dinner? Or like what happened when you get in trouble?
Well, I don't know that we did some things that I probably should have gotten in trouble for, but they kind of ignored it and it went away. This is much younger, but while we were still living on the farm, we'd gone over to the Coolmans and they had a gathering for thrashing or where the farmers come together and help each other out. Well, they'd parked the car up on a hill, and I and Denny Coolman were in the car, and I maintained that he was playing driving. Well, somehow or another, the car got into neutral and rolled down the hill, rolled into barbed wire.
Oh, gee.
And, yeah, kind of messed up the paint job of the car and all that stuff.
But I mean, that's minor compared to what could have happened, right?
Yeah, but so you hang your head and kind of hide a little bit, but no one
Yeah.
ever.
Did you hear that, babe? So they put the car in neutral and they were on a hill. And how old were you?
Oh, probably 3.
Little. And the
Maybe
car
4.
rolled down a hill and then like ran into a bunch of barbed wire. A couple like toddlers practically in the car. That must have been quite a fright.
Yeah. Well,
Oh yeah. Oh, so I have other things too, like what you like to eat when you were little. If you had favorite food, I know for Grandma it was always like, oh, you like meringue or lemon meringue, and she'd remember
Yeah.
that forever.
well, I guess while we're in the restaurant as an example, they usually have either pork or beef as an entree.
Mhm.
And I realized that I like pork because it was usually more tender. A beef was kind of toughy. I guess I was always drinking coffee from the time that we were on the farm. And when we'd have company, the mom and dad go outside to say goodbye, and I was then emptying all the coffee cups.
That's funny. They must have. Did they drink it with sugar?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Sugar and cream.
Yeah. Then it tastes pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. She didn't. I remember Grandma Hazel used to make Cracker Jack, but maybe that's only once she got older.
No, she used to make Cracker Jack on the farm too.
Okay, that was pretty good stuff.
One of the other things that Peter would enjoy, we used to use a galvanized wash tub, to take your Saturday night bath.
That's like a trough that animals eat out of. Like it's
And
made
you
out
put
of metal.
it put it in the kitchen next to the kitchen stove. So it was kind of warm. And then remember the little chair that Grandma had that Auntie Margaret got a hold of?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. Anyway, there was a little, I use the word dowel sized chair. It stood up about that high. Anyway, you'd use that beside the tub so you could have something to sit on before you got in or after you got out, kind of stuff.
So they'd heat the water on the wood burning stove,
Right.
kettle, and fill the tub with it. Did you have to take baths in shifts? Like Uncle Roger would take the first bath and you take it the second, or you got your own?
No, well, I usually, I don't remember the sequence, but yeah, there was only one tub.
Yeah.
So everyone
And you
used
didn't
it.
want to waste the water, right? I mean, that's a lot of water to move too.
Yeah, I don't remember how many rotations were in
Uh-huh.
the tub. Yeah, whatever water came into the house had to be carried in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow, that's crazy.
yeah,
Did you have a sink inside?
yeah. And on the
Like
farm,
a basin, maybe?
no, there wasn't a basement, but mounted to, they had a corner in the kitchen, and they had a little counter, and they had a regular sink.
Uh-huh.
And the drain went down into the ground and then off to the west underneath the driveway, and it went into they had cut a ditch, and it would just empty out there, so you had raw sewage
Yeah,
out there in the ditch.
right.
And usually there was straw and other stuff that kind of kept it in place. And
Yeah.
matter of fact, you had to cover it up in the wintertime so it wouldn't freeze over, and then your kitchen drain wouldn't work.
And then it would back up. Yeah.
Well, I don't remember it backing up, but if it froze, it backed up, yeah. And there was always a pail of drinking water beside the sink. So, we didn't have running water. That was it.
Sorry. I guess I have to decline it on all the devices, so it knows not to. I don't want to answer the phone.
Long before I was aware, they were having some problems with some animals down there in the sink, in the drain area. And there was they'd put
Probably
a trap.
Yeah.
Yeah, put
Oh,
a
like
trap on.
rats or mice and stuff?
Well, I don't know exactly if it was raccoons or
Huh.
whatever. Anyway, mother went down there and they were going to take the cat out of the trap, and she thought she could pet the cat. Well, the cat was traumatized and tore into her, and she had to have shots, and not rabies shots, but
So a cat from outside.
an
got
outside
into-
cat, yeah,
Oh, geez.
gotten in and got stepped in a trap,
Huh?
and they were down there trying to help the cat out of the trap.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oops.
I guess, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old. Uncle Claude from Iowa, he and his wife and daughter came up for Christmas, and I had a little pop gun, cork pop gun.
Mm-hmm.
And the daughter, to keep her occupied while the older people talked all the time, she was the same age as Roger. Anyway, she kept cocking it and shooting it, and she broke it. So Claude bought me my first BB gun. So I had a BB gun when I was 6 years old out on the farm.
No, well, I don't know what Grandpa shot, but this person who was visiting broke his little pop gun, which is kind of a fun little thing. And then the dad of the girl who broke Grandpa Dale's gun bought him a BB gun, which you could actually do some damage with. And he was
Yeah.
only 6 when he got it.
And
BBs are like little hard metal balls.
I guess it was 1950 when Claude passed away. Anyway, we went down to Estherville, Iowa for the funeral. And I think it was that time that the older brother, Jim Stevens, he was a mechanic out at the airport. And he took Roger and I, somebody took Roger and I up in the little Piper Cub for an airplane ride. And the other item was that one of the cousins, Dad's cousins, by the name of Raymond, was there, and he gave me a 1950, he worked in a bank. He gave me a 1950 minted $50, 50-cent piece.
Mm-hmm.
And I had that for many years. And when we moved from Green Slope up to Hawks Way,
Mm-hmm.
the movers found that little bank and it has disappeared. So
I,
50-cent piece, yeah.
jeez.
But I wasn't keeping track of it because, you
Yeah.
know, once in a great while I'd see it, and that was all that was important.
Can we just blame Margaret?
Pardon?
Can we just blame Margaret?
Yeah.
I think she has everything, all our family heirlooms in her garage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, one of the items that I remember, of course, we had graduation in the city hall, and the Erickson, Donnie Erickson, Lily and Curly and family were there. And Donnie told me later, he says, everyone else walked in and processed in. They had this long, sober face. And he said, you came along and you're grinning from ear to ear. I was so happy to get out of that place.
Out of high school.
Yes.
So Donnie's mom was Maybelle, right?
No, Lily.
Okay.
Ellen and Ronnie
Okay.
was Maybelle.
Oh, you're right. Alan Jelm.
Yeah.
Okay. What was Maybelle? Maybelle and Curly?
No, Lily and Curly.
Okay.
Maybelle and Arnold.
And Arnold. And does Donnie have any brothers or sisters?
Well, Donnie had a brother, Charles, and a sister, Carolyn.
Okay. I remember meeting Lily. I remember her.
Carolyn was about Roger's age,
Okay.
probably a year younger.
Karen?
then-
Or Carolyn?
Carolyn.
Carolyn. But those are all Ericksons, right?
Yes.
We got Ericksons and Jelms. So this Stevens, like I didn't really know, I mean, except for Soletta.
Yeah.
I don't remember really meeting any of the Stevens or
Well,
really
the
hearing
only-
about them at
The
all.
only one that I had much relationship with was Merlin.
Uh-huh.
His dad was
Cousin?
Jim. He was my cousin from Esteril, Iowa. But there was about 8 kids in that family.
Uh-huh.
But they were probably a 25-year spread in age.
Yeah.
Of course, when Claude died, his wife, and the daughter's name was Peggy. That wasn't her real name, but it was her nickname. Kind of lost contact with them. After I was commissioned and was done, came home on vacation one first time. I think it was, I can't remember if it had to have been, I don't know. Maybe I had been to Vietnam. Anyway, I went through Esteril, Iowa and stopped in. And I can't even remember the 2 aunts' names. But that Peggy Stevens, that was the last time I saw her mother. And the same with Jim Stevens, his wife, the last time I saw them. But so anyway, when we were seniors, it was kind of, what are you going to do now? I don't know.
Mhm.
You're in college. Well, what are you going to do? Well, I guess I'll be an engineer. And we went down to Brookings, South Dakota State, and Denny Coleman and his mother and Hazel and myself walked through campus, and they basically, we agreed that it would be an okay place to go, and they accepted us as students, and that way we didn't have to wrestle trying to go to some other, well, if you went to engineering school in Minneapolis, that was a bust because you're going to University of Minnesota and the mega campus where South Dakota State was a little bit smaller, or you could go to Mankato for a year and then transition, I guess 2 years and then transition. And I wasn't really interested in that kind of activity. So it was a pretty simple process. I knew I was not going to be going to a liberal arts school because that wasn't my bag. We never really had any strong English training, and it wasn't my forte anyway. So anyway, then we went off to Brookings and spent 4 years. And I had joined the Minnesota National Guard when we were in January of 1957.
That was when you were in high school.
Yes. And we'd have one drill every month. And so a 3-month check was $27.
Oh my gosh.
But that was big money for high school kids.
That's $9 a month.
Yep.
Oh, Peter gets Peter gets more than that. Well, your grandpa, when he worked when he was in high school for the National Guard, and he made $9 a month. He would get a check every 3 months for $27. That's $9 a month. You make more than that, yeah, for your allowance.
Well, I guess I skipped over, and you probably heard that story before, but when the summer I was 10 years old, they sent me out to work on the farm. Marlo Scollin said he was looking for some help. So Dad said, well, here I have a guy that's looking for work. So I got $1 a day for working on the farm, driving tractor, cultivating, feeding the hogs.
That's good money.
Well, it was better than anybody else.
Yeah.
And the story was going to be that if it had a good harvest and profitable summer from everything, he's going to give me a bonus at the end. Well,
Yeah.
I left there and I never saw any bonus. And I was too naive to push the point.
Shoot.
Yeah.
What do you think, that he really didn't mean to, or do you think he just didn't want to?
I don't think he wanted to.
Oh, well, I mean, $1 a day is pretty good money for then anyway, right?
Well, for 10
I mean, you
years
probably
old,
were doing more work than that, really, but
one of his favorite things was to give me a machete and send me out into the oat field and cut the tops off of thistles. You know what Canadian thistles look like.
so that they wouldn't seed more. But yeah, they're covered in spikes.
Yeah.
Like you should have been wearing like a full-on body leather to do
Yeah.
that job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In
Uh-huh.
the middle of Minnesota summer.
Oh, geez, hot and humid and mosquitoes.
All of the above.
Yuck.
So anyway, every once in a while, probably every 2 or 3 weeks, I'd come into town for the weekend, and I could go to the red and white store where Mother was working, buy a watermelon, and
Oh, yeah.
eat the whole thing.
Did you have like popsicles, or you couldn't have ice cream really because there wasn't, you didn't have a freezer, certainly at home.
There was ice cream at the restaurants.
Oh, okay.
We had freezers. The first freezer was a, I don't know what we call them. Anyway, it's about a 5-foot long freezer, and you open the lid and all the material down in there.
Mhm.
But that thing probably is still running, where you can't get them that good anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, that's called a chest freezer, I think.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Yeah, they used to build them to last. Now they
Right.
build them to break down, so you have to buy another one. Sad.
Right. Yep.
Anyway. Do you ever remember having like, oh, I asked about favorite foods already. Do you have any pets?
Yeah, we had pets on the farm.
Yeah.
We had some German Shepherds on the farm. I know that we had dogs out there, and I don't remember a whole lot of activity with the dog. I know when I was going through the woods with my BB gun, the dog was usually with me.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, somewhere after Roger went off to officer candidate school, we had a stray mutt that showed up by the name of, I called him Tex. And I have no idea what happened to him. He just disappeared one day. We had a little wash room in the back of the house, unheated, but at least it was in out of the cold. And somehow or another got out from that room and disappeared. But Roger used to send me like $5 a month, and I'd go buy dog food, to feed him. He was a scallywag, I guess, when we found him. And
Mm-hmm.
either he was still a scallywag or somebody did him in. I don't know.
Huh.
But that was the last pet that we had,
Yeah.
or I had anyway.
You guys didn't name any of your farm animals? They were just livestock, just took care of them.
Yeah, well, when we were on the farm, there was we had a cow, I guess that was supposed to be mine. And then there was a calf. And I know that, I remember the story, and I had to be about 4 years old anyway. I came downstairs in the morning, and Mom and Dad were kind of trying to figure out what to do, but Dad finally said that my cow had died.
Mm.
So I walked down to the barn and had my, I don't know, pop gun or whatever. I came back up and I said, well, she's dead now because I shot her. So that was the extent of my emotion.
That would be kind of a problem though, because that cow would be really expensive.
Yeah.
Oh.
But when your farm animals died like that, you just
Yeah.
called the renderer guy, and he'd come with his truck and haul them off.
Yeah.
Because you
But
had to
it's
get
like-
rid of them.
Right, but like that, the expense though, like of buying a cow would be a lot, and if you
Yeah.
don't get to recoup that cost, that's. But I mean, I think that's what put a lot of people off farming is they were always broke.
You had to become you had to be self-sufficient. You had to have chickens and you had to have cattle, and a lot of the farmers started getting into a one crop operation, like they would grow soybeans or they'd grow oats, or they'd go to grain farming, and they didn't have the total package. Who's that guy?
Sam, you want to show Grandpa? Let me show you. He just built it. Grandpa,
Grandpa, it's from
you better come over here. Then. Come up here.
Grandpa. It's from Chima.
Chima, it's the Lego from Chima.
Oh,
The
wow.
camera is right there, Sam.
Yeah, goodness gracious, that's pretty good.
Yeah, Sam, did
You're
you?
really creative there, hot dog.
Yeah,
Yeah.
She got the piece in
yeah.
the
Whoa.
And also the guns can.
Do you want to tell Grandpa where we were this
Are
week?
those like headlights or something?
Probably shooters. Everything is a
They are
shooter.
guns.
They're guns.
Oh,
Yeah.
And also, and I'm going to say line.
Oh, he's gonna bring another one to show you.
oh, okay.
You know. Okay. So you just would go off in the woods with your BB gun and your dog. Like, did how they they'd be like dinner? Like, would they ring a bell or how they get you back home? Or you'd have to pay attention to the.
Well, we were just in the grove. The grove was within the building complex of the farm.
Okay.
And yeah, it could always be, I could hear somebody holler dinner.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, here's the other one.
March 4th.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Can I do it? I'm gonna hold it still so that he can see. This is a lion, and he's got a gun. And this is a speeder. He goes on the speeder.
And this
Oh,
guy,
and there's another one.
he's a lion. This lion,
Yeah.
he's lazy.
He's lazy.
Uh-huh.
Okay. He's a lazy lion. Sam, I assume anyway, because of all the hand washing and hand sanitizing, he's got just terrible skin rash on both of his hands.
Well, you showed us pictures the last time we,
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
but it hasn't gone away, huh?
No, and it doesn't hurt him. You know, I could think if you touched it, it kind of hurts, but otherwise it doesn't seem to hurt. But I've been trying to put some lotion on it, but he doesn't want anybody to mess with it because then it
Oh,
hurts more.
but it doesn't bother him to get sleep.
No.
Oh, that's good. It will pass, I guess.
I hope so, yeah, or else we'll have to get him little gloves or something. Oh, also, did you guys ever have vacations? Did you like ever get away from home, or was that just like too expensive?
Well, it was usually pretty expensive. We seldom, if you will, went on vacation. I guess when we were about 12, well, no, when I was about 10, we went down to Fort Rucker to visit Roger at camp, Army camp down there. And in the process, we went all the way down to Florida to see Uncle Jeff and Pearl. But the interesting part about that was, well, and keep in mind, I was kind of young at the time and didn't understand all the politics. But Dad said, I suppose we better ask Mabel, being we're going to see Stephen's relative. Yes, I guess so. Well, if Maple's going, I guess Grandma Anderson better be asked if she wants to go.
Mm-hmm.
So we had 6 of us in the car, and it was kind of a full house. And at that time, I had motion sickness, so I couldn't sit in the back seat. I had to sit up front where I could see out.
Uh-huh.
And I guess it was about the 3rd night out. Dad was going to be conservative, and he took the back seat out of the car and put it up against the wall in the motel, and I was supposed to sleep on that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, unfortunately, the seats all are slanted, and when you try to sleep on it and you roll against the wall, the seat goes.
Oh,
So
geez.
it's not one of my better nights.
Oh, no. You like the seat would tip and then you'd fall on the ground against the wall?
Well, it wouldn't tip, it would slide on the floor.
Oh, geez.
Anyway, we did make it all the way down to Florida. And I don't know, like the 2nd or 3rd day we were there, probably the 2nd. Jeff had mentioned to the company, us, that there was a train passing by. And so everyone was supposed to go look at the train. Well, I went to the bay window to look for the train, didn't see the train, but I stepped on the edge of the end table, which is unstable, and the lamp fell on the floor and went crash. Yeah, well, it contained a red shade and a black horse. And Auntie Pearl, that was her favorite.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And so we hunted all over West Palm Beach looking for a lamp that had a black horse on it. We found something that was a substitute, but never.
Uh-huh.
I guess she was kind enough just to accept it. She probably threw it away after we left.
So Uncle Jeff, was that Leslie's brother?
Yeah, younger brother.
Oh, okay. And he had, was Jim another brother?
Yeah, he was the oldest
Oh, okay.
brother.
Were there 3 brothers?
No, there were more than that. There was Oscar and Ralph.
Huh.
Were older than Dad, I think.
Okay.
And then there was Florin, who was younger than Dad, and Jeff.
Okay. There was that many boys in the family?
Yeah,
And with Bessie was the mom?
yes.
Okay.
And then they had Mabel and Sletta. And I think there had been some children that passed younger
Yeah.
in life, but I don't remember
Mhm.
any of that.
That's a big family. You'd have thought they were Catholics or something.
Yeah, well, that's how you survived.
They were not.
Um, of course, I never knew my Grandpa Stephen. But Mother was always so proud that he was a doctor of some type. I guess just a community doctor. But no, I'm sorry, his dad's grandfather was a doctor. His dad was the black sheep of the family because he became a farmer. Frank Stevens was Dad's father,
Okay.
and he became a farmer where the other folks all were in a professional career of some type.
But I can see why Grandma Hazel would have made that be like some elevation of status. To
Yep,
be close
everyone
to the
needed,
family that
everyone
had-
needed to know that.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I don't think Hannah's going to join us this afternoon.
I don't think so either. Yeah, I didn't hear anything back from Katrina or Hannah. They don't have church on Friday, do they?
No, I don't think so.
No. Anyway, I don't remember. I think, oh yeah, I mean, I just have kind of random questions here, but like, what chores did you have? So we learned a little bit about you having to, at 10 years old, having to work really kind of awful work, hot, sweaty, miserable stuff for $1 a day. You must have had chores at home too, though, right? Did you like, even when you were little, like cleaning stuff up or?
Well, I really didn't have any chores until we moved to the house, and I was supposed to cut the grass.
Uh-huh.
And the grass was so horrible. You try to push mow it, and I couldn't get through it. And it was hot and sweaty. And so it took me about 3 days to mow this little bit of grass. And then after I left, then they bought a power, Uncle Eric bought a power mower. What a bummer. I guess I helped when we were on the farm bringing in corn cobs and some wood, but that was more Roger's job because he was older and could carry more.
You know what?
Huh?
Did they farm for like, was it just a farm, like, was it a garden for your family's needs, or were they producing a crop?
No, that was your main stable. They produced corn and soybean. Well, we didn't have soybeans, but flax, oats, and cattle, hogs, and we do our own slaughtering for hogs as an example.
Yeah.
I don't remember, maybe for yearly calves, I don't remember any cattle that we slaughtered because I don't think they could handle it.
So
that was always a big deal.
yeah, Leslie's dad was a farmer.
Yeah,
Although his family was doctors.
yeah. Matter of fact,
Yeah.
to the best of my knowledge, Mom and Dad moved in with his folks on that farm.
That's
And,
right.
then, and I don't know where they went afterward, but Mom and Dad then bought that farm from the owner who lived in Iowa.
Okay.
And I remember him stopping by at least twice.
So that was where Bessie and Frank had farmed?
Yes, they also had farmed in Iowa. They had farmed in Canada. They had moved around quite a bit. Can you imagine?
Oh, the Iowa town that Claude, or at least Jim, had lived in?
Esterville,
Esterville.
E-S-T.
Uh-huh.
Can you imagine making major moves like that with a tribe of kids?
Jeez.
Yeah. Um,
At least they probably didn't have a lot of stuff.
I'm guessing they didn't. Mabel used to tell me about I guess it was a house they lived in Canada was haunted.
Oh, geez.
Now, I don't know if that's fact or fiction, but anyway, that's what the story was. Strange things used to move around in the house at night.
Yikes.
Yeah.
So Canada and Esterville and Boyd. I mean, they didn't have like what they were just desperately trying to find a place to land, or
I guess so. I don't know.
Huh.
I'm guessing that Frank and Betsy were renting the
Mhm.
farm that mom and dad, when they moved in together,
Yeah.
lived there. And then when they moved somewhere, and I don't know where, then they bought the farm from the guy in Iowa.
Yeah. I wonder, like, so Frank was the black sheep. I wonder did the family really kind of just not stick around, didn't support him or help him out? I wonder, I don't know. I'm just curious.
To the best of my knowledge, there was no interaction with any other members of
Yeah.
the family. Keep in mind that when Claude passed away, this guy Raymond was a cousin. Dad knew him, but it was kind of the first time they'd seen each other since for a long, long time.
Wow.
But I do know that when any of the other brothers and sisters passed away, there was no one else outside of the immediate family that ever showed up.
I mean, sometimes there can just be a rift too, and people just stick
And
with,
or
yeah. Huh.
Florin was killed in, I think, early 45. And mother had been buying chocolate bars and things and getting ready to send a care package when they got the word. And so here I am, like 5 years old. I said, oh, now we get to eat the candy.
Which is what it would make sense at 5 years old.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And
I'm guessing that you remember that because she probably was horrified and told you how awful it was or something.
no. We also used to host hunters during pheasant season that would drive out to Minneapolis.
Mhm.
The one guy was one of the editors for the St. Paul Tribune or something or another. But they usually bring at least 1 or 2 carloads of hunters out.
Uh-huh.
And they would figure out places for them to stay, and then Dad would, they would hunt pheasants on our property and the neighbor's property. And it was always a highlight because in order to get invited back, they always bought big bags of candy.
Mhm.
They came one more time when we were in town at the restaurant, but that was the last time they came out from Minneapolis to hunt. It just got to be too difficult to work out the details, and Dad couldn't spend that much time out hunting.
So these were just businessmen or these were relatives?
No, these were businessmen, just people from
Okay.
Minneapolis. And
Yeah.
there was a couple of them that were kind of that stayed in touch with mom and dad. And the rest were there, if you were a good guy and they'd ask you if you wanted to go out to Boyd, Minnesota to go pheasant hunting. And if you were on your P's and Q's, you might get invited back. Otherwise, next year you didn't. Matter of fact, I remember one of the new guys, after everybody left, Dad said, well, I'm not sure about him. And he said, what do you think? I said, well, I thought he was an okay guy. Well, okay, if you thought he was okay. So anyway, it's kind of interesting.
So did you have toys? Like, did you have like wooden toys, or do you remember having anything that you played with?
Um, I had some trucks, and yeah, I had some toys. I also had a canary. We had a canary in the house on the farm.
Mhm.
And again, I don't remember the time period, like maybe 3 years old. And the canary passed away, so I put him in a greeting card box, and we padded it up a little bit and went out and interned him in the local area. And then I didn't like that, so I dug him up and put him somewhere else. And but that was, I guess, my pet when we were on the farm. Um,
That's kind of an odd pet. I mean, the canaries are kind of a pain. Like you had to have bird feed and.
yeah, I don't know what caused him to pass away, just old age, I guess.
Yeah. I
But
guess there's a pet store in town or something, or maybe from the general store they'd have bird seed.
yeah, they all had bird seed.
Okay.
Uh,
Maybe people used to have pet birds more than they do now.
I think so. But he used to talk to us, and we used to be able to take him out of the cage. Auntie Mabel had parakeets,
Oh yeah.
and she had a couple of them at different times, but she would let them out of the cage, and so they would just fly around the house. And,
Jeez.
and then one time I remember we were having coffee and cookies, and the parakeet came and landed on the butter and thought it was a solid surface, and it
No. Yuck.
through the butter.
Yeah.
But I think the last parakeet she had, we still had the storm windows on the house because it'd been winter, so it's getting to be spring. But storm windows had 3 holes in the bottom, and you could lift up the little board, let fresh air in. Well, she had pulled up the board, and to the best of our knowledge, the parakeet went out the little hole and never be seen again, which was kind of a sad time. We were very surprised because the parakeet had been very, hate to use the word trained, but he was pretty much a pet, and
Yeah.
would respond to people if they called him.
Uh-huh. Oh well.
Yeah, such is life. I get these shooting pains from this leg. Not good. When I had a resurgence of this cellulitis,
Mhm.
infectious disease doctor was on vacation, went on vacation. And so I was dealing with her nurse. She said, send us pictures. So we did that. Because the darn ankle is swollen up, and it's like a dark bruise, like almost black around the sore. And it hurts. Well, anyway, the doctor said she wasn't going to give me any stronger antibiotic. And we did make an appointment at the wound care clinic, but that's on the 22nd. So today's the 10th. I'm sure I have to wait a while. And I had a return visit to see the infectious disease doctor for the 29th, but she finally agreed that they would see me on the 14th. That's the next time that she's back in the office. So,
Jeez.
but I don't think she has a clue of the pain I'm suffering.
Uh-huh.
It's boring.
Are you on any, like, did they give you any painkillers, or are you just on, can you take acetaminophen or anything, or?
I take some Tylenol at night. Try to take one at 8:30 and then take another one at 9 o'clock when I go to bed. And that's the only pain medicine. I don't want to get into anything too heavy.
Yeah.
So I've avoided that nonsense.
Yeah. I know that some people have luck with like biofeedback techniques where they can, the pain is still there, but it doesn't grab them so much.
Yeah,
I don't know. I've never had anything like that. I did send Katrina a bunch of CBD pills that are supposed to be really good and inflammation. People swear by that. Anyway, I don't know if you ever got them.
no, I think they called and they had this other fellow from church that was in a much more serious stage of cancer than I was. And I think they offered them to him. And I don't know how that came up.
Well, I'm happy to send more if you would take them.
No, that's okay. We're going to get this out of the way. It's
Okay.
going to disappear one of these days. Either that or I'm going to cut my leg off.
That's always an option, but I don't know that the pain would go away even then, you know?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I think the infection is going up into the calf muscle area because they're very tender. And
Yeah. Well, if you have an infection and nobody is treating it, what do they think is going to happen?
Well, I was on infusion for at least 2 months.
Yeah.
And then she put me on this oral antibiotic called minocycline.
Mhm.
And so I've been taking that for 2 months. And she initially only gave me a 30-day supply. And the last time she wrote a prescription, she made it for 3 months, 3 refills.
Mhm.
So I guess the prescription I had plus 3 refills, that's a whole year. And her parting comment last time I saw her is, well, sometimes it takes a long time to heal.
Mm. Yeah, but it shouldn't be getting worse.
I know it.
Yeah.
Amen.
Huh. I mean, can you go into urgent care or anything and just say this is intolerable and do something?
Well, that has been recommended by a number of folks, but
Yeah.
it's I'm not sure how well I'd be received by either the urgent care people or by the infectious disease doctor if you have more than one set of doctors trying to treat the same problem.
Yeah.
They're not going to counter each other. And
Well, but yeah, I mean, the you know, at some point though, you might just get more and more incompetent doctors just saying, oh, whatever. But at some point, you might actually find someone who can help, which
Yeah.
is we hope, because if the current troop of medical practitioners is not helping,
yeah,
you know, what do you do then? You ask for a recommendation for someone who's going to actually see you and deal with it, or if it's getting worse, that's not. They're
well,
not.
I'll have to make those decisions after the 14th.
Yeah.
See what kind of results I get.
Okay. Okay. Anyway,
Yeah, I'm going to run out.
yes. Maybe we'll have to do a second round with, like, I don't know, the teenager stuff.
Yeah.
About that.
Well, I guess I can confess up to one of the things. Homecoming, the sophomores were always in charge of having a big bonfire.
Oh yeah.
So they had it down at the football field, and they had collected a whole bunch of cardboard and wood and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I and about 3 other guys collected up a bunch of weeds, tumbleweeds and other stuff, and very close to the bonfire area. We actually put a little fire barrier, dug up some dirt so there was a fire barrier,
Right.
so it wouldn't spread in the grass, and started this on fire. But it was bright enough that they could see it downtown, and all the sophomore girls were screaming, "Oh, our bonfire, our bonfire!"
It's pretty harmless, though. I mean, nothing bad happened. You
Yeah,
know,
it was, and
dug a little trench around it. It's not like you started anything on fire.
but that's what I told the superintendent when I had a chance to talk to him.
And was he also? Did he understand, or was he not?
Yeah, he was kind of benign about it all.
Yeah, that's good.
He couldn't laugh too loud. He had to be kind of serious. Yeah. Okay, Joan.
Okie doke.
Until later.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Love you.
Love you too. Bye.